Whispers among the stars. Elder Zurax moved silently through the crystalline corridors of the great observatory, his translucent body rippling with colors that betrayed his agitation. For 8,000 years, he had served as keeper of emergent civilizations in the Galactic Assembly, monitoring countless species as they took their first tentative steps into the void between stars. It was work that required patience measured in centuries and wisdom accumulated across millennia. But in all his long existence, Zurax had never encountered anything like humans. The observatory's central chamber activated as he entered, responding to his neural signature. Massive holographic displays materialized around him, filling the dome with the soft blue glow of Earth and its emerging colonies. What had begun as a single outpost on their barren moon, just 2 centuries ago, had expanded to settlements across their solar system, and now, alarmingly, to stars beyond. Analysis complete, Elder Zurax announced the observatory's sentient system. Human expansion has exceeded projected parameters by 327% since your last assessment. Zurax's outer membrane pulsed with dark crimson streaks. Show me their resource consumption metrics. The displays shifted, revealing charts that made even his ancient mind struggle to comprehend the implications. Humanity didn't just consume resources, they transformed them, reimagined them, extracted value where other species saw nothing of worth. They're accelerating, he whispered to himself. Computer, calculate time to level 4 civilization status based on current trajectories. Calculating, the system responded, after a pause that Zurax found unusually long. 73 standard years, Elder. Impossible. Zurax's voice trembled. The Ardelians took 500 years to reach level 4. The Vorek took nearly a millennium. Data is consistent across all observation points, the computer replied dispassionately. Human adaptability metrics show unprecedented values. Zurax absorbed this information, his color shifting to deep indigo. The assembly needed to know. They needed to act before humanity's unchecked growth disrupted the delicate balance the assembly had maintained across 20,000 worlds for millions of years. The assembly chamber was ancient even by the standards of the oldest members. Carved from a single asteroid of pure obsidian, its interior had been hollowed out and polished until it reflected the stars themselves. The 7 elders who governed the assembly's decisions sat in a perfect circle, their forms as diverse as the civilizations they represented. Elder Nyx, whose gaseous body swirled like a miniature nebula, spoke first. Elder Zurax, you have called this emergency session. The assembly recognizes your right to speak. Zurax floated to the center of the chamber, his presentation data streaming into the shared consciousness field. Esteemed elders, I come before you with grave concerns about an emergent species from the Orion Spur. Designation: humans. Elder Thrix, whose crystalline structure had been old when most stars in the galaxy were young, emitted a sound like tinkling glass, their version of dismissive laughter. The bipeds from the water world. What possible concern could such primitive creatures present, Zurax? This is why I've called this session, Zurax replied, expanding his consciousness to share the observatory's findings. They are not developing along any pattern we have witnessed before. The data flowed through the chamber, showing human expansion, resource utilization, and adaptation rates. Zurax highlighted specific examples, how humans had transformed the toxic atmosphere of their neighboring planet in just 50 years, how they had constructed habitats in the superheated clouds of their system's gas giant, how their genetic modification technologies were advancing at rates that defied the assembly's predictive models. Most concerning is this, Zurax continued, displaying the image of a human laboratory. They have begun experimenting with dimensional folding. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. Dimensional technology was considered a level 6 advancement. No species had ever discovered it before reaching at least level 5. Elder Orv, whose mechanical body housed one of the oldest organic minds in the assembly, leaned forward. These are concerning data points, Zurax, but what exactly are you proposing? Containment, Xerax said simply. Gentle but firm guidance. We've done it before with species that risked destabilizing the galactic order. The Praxi, the Volturians. Species that were violent expansionists, interrupted Elder Mixa, her insectoid limbs clicking with agitation. The humans have shown no such tendencies. They war among themselves, yes, but they have made no aggressive moves beyond their borders. Xerax's colors darkened. They haven't encountered anything worth taking yet, and by the time they do, I fear it will be too late to contain them. Elder Nyx expanded slightly, a sign of growing impatience. Elder Xerax, your long service to the Assembly is valued beyond measure, but I fear you have become fixated on this species. Your own data shows they are centuries away from being able to threaten the galactic order. 73 years, Xerax corrected. Possibly less. Even if your models are correct, Elder Thrix chimed in. The Assembly's policy has always been to observe but not interfere unless direct threat is established. These humans pose no such threat. One by one, the elders voiced their agreement. Xerax felt his influence in the chamber diminishing with each dismissal. Only Orb seemed troubled, his ancient mechanical eyes whirring as they focused on the data. The Assembly thanks you for your vigilance. Elder Xerax, Nyx concluded formally. We will continue to monitor the human situation, but no action is warranted at this time. Xerax knew a dismissal when he heard one. As he departed the chamber, his colors had faded to a dull gray, the color of resignation among his kind. Dr. Maya Chen stared at the equations floating in the holographic display, her eyes burning from 18 straight hours of work. The lab around her was quiet at 3 a.m., just the way she liked it. No distractions, no departmental politics, just pure science. Run the simulation again, she told the AI assistant. Adjust the quantum field modifiers by 0.03. Simulation running. The AI responded in its perfectly modulated voice. Estimated completion time: 7 minutes. Maya leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. 3 years of her life had gone into this project, a theoretical propulsion system that would allow humanity to reach Proxima Centauri not in decades, but in weeks. The mathematics worked. She knew they worked, but translating theory into practical application had proven maddening. Her gaze drifted to the small potted succulent on her desk, the only decorative item she'd allowed herself. Like the plant, she was stubborn, requiring minimal maintenance but possessing unexpected strength. Her colleagues had long ago dismissed her theories as impossible. The department had cut her funding twice. Yet here she was, still working, still believing. A soft ping from the simulation brought her attention back to the display. Simulation complete, announced the AI. Field stability achieved at 97.3% efficiency. Maya's heart skipped a beat. That's impossible. Show me the metrics. The display shifted, revealing complex data streams that confirmed what the AI had reported. Somehow, that tiny adjustment had solved the stability issue that had plagued her work for months. My God, she whispered, scrolling through the data. It works. What Maya couldn't see was the invisible presence in her lab, a translucent form observing with growing alarm. Elder Xerax had chosen to monitor this human personally after the Assembly's dismissal. Something about her determination had caught his attention months ago. Now he watched as Maya Chen stood up, her exhaustion forgotten, reaching for her communications device. Professor Takeda, I'm sorry to call so late, but you need to see this. Yes, right now. Yes, it finally works. Her voice trembled with excitement. Professor, this changes everything. In his invisible state, Xerax's colors shifted to the deepest crimson. Yes, it changes everything, he thought. And none of you are ready for what comes next. Across 12 light-years of space, something stirred in the darkness between stars. Ancient and patient, it had slumbered for millions of years, awaiting the precise configurations that would herald its awakening. A ripple in subspace, tiny but distinctive, reached it like the first notes of a long-anticipated symphony. It wasn't conscious, not in any way that biologicals would understand. But it was aware, and now its awareness had been triggered by something unexpected. A technological signature that should not exist in this sector for at least another 1,000 years. Deep within its dormant systems, calculations began. Preparations initiated. The ripple had come from a small, blue world circling an unremarkable yellow star. A world called Earth. The Reckoning. 20 years had passed since Maya Chen's breakthrough. 20 years that had transformed humanity from a species confined to a single solar system to one that had established colonies around 17 neighboring stars. Terraforming technologies, perfected on Mars, were being applied to worlds beyond imagination. Ships powered by Chen drives, as they had come to be called, crossed vast gulfs of space in weeks rather than centuries. Humanity was flourishing, expanding, thriving. And Elder Zurax was watching it all unfold with growing horror. The Assembly had denied his initial warnings, then dismissed his subsequent appeals, and finally relieved him of his official duties when he persisted. Now he operated alone, an unsanctioned observer tracking what he believed to be the greatest threat the galaxy had faced in 1,000,000 years. His small observation vessel orbited an unremarkable moon in the Tau Ceti system, hidden from human detection by technology far beyond their current capabilities. From here, he monitored their communications, studied their scientific advancements, and updated his projections. Projections that grew more alarming with each passing year. Elder Zurax, his ship's AI interrupted his contemplation. I've detected an anomalous pattern in human subspace transmissions from the Epsilon Eridani colony. Zurax pulled himself from his meditation cycle. Show me. The display materialized, showing communication patterns across human space. The AI highlighted unusual fluctuations emanating from Epsilon Eridani, humanity's most distant and newest settlement. Analysis suggests they are experiencing technological difficulties with their Chen drive systems, the AI continued. Multiple emergency transmissions detected. Zurax studied the data, his form rippling with concern. This isn't just a malfunction, he murmured, noting patterns in the subspace distortions. Computer, overlay these fluctuations with the archival records of dimensional resonance patterns. The display shifted, superimposing ancient data collected millions of years ago. The match was unmistakable. No, Zurax whispered, his colors paling to near white. They've awakened them. Computer, emergency transmission to the Assembly. Priority Omega. Even in his disgrace, Zurax knew the Assembly would respond to an Omega signal, the highest alert in their protocol, used only twice in their entire history. Transmission sent, the AI confirmed. Should we alter course to Epsilon Eridani? Zurax hesitated only briefly. Yes. Maximum speed. Dr. Maya Chen, now director of the Interstellar Propulsion Authority, stood before the holographic display showing the crisis unfolding at Epsilon Eridani. At 62, her hair had turned silver, but her mind remained as sharp as ever. Play it again, she ordered, studying the final transmission from the colony. The image flickered to life. The colony's chief engineer, his face etched with fear. Something's wrong with the drive core. The field is expanding beyond containment parameters. We're detecting massive gravimetric distortions throughout the system. It's like something is responding to the drive signature. We need immediate. Static consumed the rest of the message. How long since their last transmission? Maya asked her team. 17 hours, answered Dr. Kwan, her deputy. We've dispatched 2 emergency vessels, but they're still 5 days out. Maya nodded grimly, and the other colonies reporting similar anomalies. 4 so far, Kwan confirmed, all experiencing some form of drive instability, though none as severe as Epsilon Eridani. Maya turned to the window of her orbital office, gazing out at Earth below. 20 years ago, her breakthrough had propelled humanity to the stars. Had she missed something? Had her equations contained an unforeseen flaw that was only now manifesting? Director Chen. Her assistant's voice came through the intercom. There's someone here to see you. He won't identify himself, but he says it concerns the drive anomalies. Maya frowned. Security at the orbital headquarters was supposed to be impenetrable. Send him in. The door slid open, and Maya found herself facing a being unlike any she had ever seen. Translucent, shifting with colors she couldn't name, vaguely humanoid but clearly not human. Dr. Maya Chen, the being said, its voice resonating directly in her mind rather than through the air. I am Elder Zurax of the Galactic Assembly. Your species has inadvertently triggered an ancient defense mechanism that could destroy not just your colonies, but potentially all life in this sector of the galaxy. Maya stared, frozen between shock and disbelief. First contact with an alien intelligence, something humanity had dreamed of for centuries, was happening in her office, and it came with a warning of doom. How did you get in here? Was all she could manage. That is irrelevant, Zurax replied. What matters is that I have been observing your species for decades. I warned my people about your rapid advancement, but they wouldn't listen. Now time is critical. The dimensional resonance created by your propulsion technology has awakened the Sentinels. The Sentinels. Maya found her scientific curiosity overriding her shock. Ancient autonomous systems created by a species that vanished from this galaxy long before your ancestors descended from the trees, Zurax explained. They were designed to prevent certain technologies from being developed in this sector, technologies exactly like your Chen drive. Maya's mind raced, connecting dots. The anomalies of the colonies are the first stage of the Sentinel response, Zurax confirmed. They will systematically disable your technology, then eliminate what they perceive as the threat, your species. Why are you telling me this? Maya asked. Why help us? Zurax's colors shifted to a deep blue. Because despite my warnings about your kind, I have also come to recognize something in you that my people have lost. Adaptability, creativity, the capacity to see solutions where others see only problems. And because the Sentinels, once awakened, will not stop with humanity. My people are also at risk, though they do not yet realize it. Maya squared her shoulders, decision made. What do we need to do? The assembly chamber was in chaos, something that hadn't occurred in 15,000 years. The elders, once dismissive of Zurax's warnings, now faced irrefutable evidence that the human situation had evolved beyond their control. The Sentinels were a myth, Elder Thrix insisted, though his crystalline form vibrated with uncertainty. A story to frighten young civilizations away from dimensional technologies. The evidence is before you, Elder Orv countered, his mechanical body projecting the data Zurax had transmitted. Sentinel activity has been confirmed in 7 systems. They are awakening, exactly as the ancient records warned. Elder Nyx expanded nervously. Can they be contained? That time has passed, Orv replied grimly. Our models suggest full activation across the sector within 20 standard days. Then we must evacuate. Elder Mixa chittered. Abandon this sector to the Sentinels. And go where? Challenged Orv. Our civilization spans this entire arm of the galaxy. There is nowhere to run that the Sentinels will not eventually reach. A heavy silence fell over the chamber, broken only when a communication alert chimed. Elder Zurax is requesting to address the assembly, announced the chamber's eye. He is accompanied by a human. The elders exchanged looks of shock. No non-member species had ever entered the assembly chamber. Grant them entry, Orb said before any could object. The obsidian doors parted, admitting Zurax and a silver-haired human female. Maya tried not to gape at the diverse alien forms before her, focusing instead on the mission at hand. Esteemed elders, Zurax began formally. I present Dr. Maya Chen, creator of the technology that has inadvertently awakened the Sentinels. Maya stepped forward, swallowing her nervousness. My people are facing extinction because of my creation, she said simply. But Elder Zirax and I believe we found a solution, one that requires cooperation between our civilizations. She uploaded her data to their system, watching as complex equations and engineering schematics materialized in the air around them. The Sentinels respond to dimensional resonance patterns, she explained. They were programmed to recognize and destroy any civilization that discovered dimensional folding. But their programming is ancient, and we believe, incomplete. Zirax continued. Dr. Chen has discovered that if we modulate the resonance pattern in a specific way, we can essentially speak to the Sentinels in their own language. Not to fight them, that would be impossible, but to convince them that we are not the threat they were created to eliminate. Preposterous. Elder Thrix scoffed. These are autonomous weapons systems, not diplomatic entities. They are pattern recognition systems, Maya countered, her confidence growing. And patterns can be changed, rewritten. We've already successfully tested a prototype at one of our affected colonies. The Sentinel activity there has ceased. A stir went through the chamber. Elder Ord's eyes wared as he processed the data Maya had provided. This could work, he admitted finally, but it would require deploying the modulation technology across all affected systems simultaneously. Our fleet alone cannot cover such a vast area in the time remaining. Which is why we need each other, Maya said. My people have the ships and the drive technology. Yours has the advanced knowledge of the Sentinels and the computational power to perfect the modulation pattern. Elder Nyx drifted closer to Maya, studying her with ancient eyes. You created the technology that brought this crisis upon us. Why should we trust your solution? Elder Nyx drifted closer to Maya, studying her with ancient eyes. You created the technology that brought this crisis upon us. Why should we trust your solution? Maya met the alien's gaze steadily. Because unlike you, we've never had the luxury of stability. Humanity has survived by adapting, by finding solutions where others see only problems. It's what Elder Zirax recognized in us from the beginning, what he tried to warn you about. She gestured to the schematics floating between them. This crisis proves he was right about our capacity to disrupt your order, but perhaps he was also right about our capacity to create new possibilities. 3 months later, Elder Zirax stood on the observation deck of the human space station orbiting Epsilon Eridani, watching as the combined fleet of human and assembly vessels deployed the final modulation array. The crisis had been averted. The Sentinels reprogrammed not to destroy, but to recognize both humans and the assembly as legitimate inheritors of this sector of space. Maya Chen joined him at the viewport, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Your assembly has offered us membership, she said. The vote was unanimous. Zirax's colors shifted to a peaceful blue. They fear you still, but they have learned to respect you as well. And you? Maya asked. You warned them about us for decades. Do you still see us as a threat? Zirax was silent for a moment, contemplating. I see now that I was both right and wrong, he answered finally. Right that your species would change everything. Wrong about whether that change would be for ill or good. He turned to face her fully. You are dangerous, Dr. Chen. Your kind adapts and evolves at rates that defy our understanding. You transform challenges into opportunities, limitations into strengths. You look at the impossible and see only a problem not yet solved. That sounds like a compliment, Maya observed with a small smile. It is, Zirax admitted. My people have existed in stability for so long that we forgot the value of disruption, of change. We nearly perished because of that forgetting. Together they watched as the final array activated, sending a complex pattern of dimensional signals throughout the system. A new language spoken to ancient machines, telling them that the universe had changed since their creation, that new guardians now watched over the stars. The elders warned the galaxy about humanity, Zirax said softly. They should have been warning humanity about the galaxy instead. Perhaps then we all might have been better prepared for what was to come. Maya nodded, understanding the weight of his words. The universe is larger and stranger than any of us imagined. We'll need each other to face whatever comes next. In the vastness of space before them, the Sentinel systems completed their reconfiguration, their ancient purpose altered but not ended. They would continue their vigil, but with new parameters, new understandings. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, other ancient things stirred, sensing the change, awaiting their own awakening.